Good evening. Families of people from the East Midlands who were given contaminated blood in the 1970s and 80s have been listening to the Health Secretary face questions about compensation at a public inquiry.
Around 3,000 people died as a result of what's been described as the biggest scandal in NHS history.
Rajiv Popat has been watching the hearing with a woman whose husband died in 1998. Rajiv joins us now from Derby. Rajiv.
Matt, today's public hearing has been watched by thousands of people from across the country. People like Rhiannon Hatton, whose husband David, who's from Derby, died back in 1998. Now, David had a condition called Hemophilia, and that causes a lack of a blood clotting agent called factor VIII. Now, he'd been given blood by the NHS that was contaminated with HIV and hepatitis C. Families have been fighting for compensation for many years. In a moment, we'll speak to Rhiannon to get her reaction, but this is what Matt Hancock, the Health Secretary, said this afternoon.
The honest truth is this was set up as a support scheme, as ex gratia scheme, as we've discussed. But I have no doubt that this is something that the inquiry will look at, and I would expect it to. And I will respect its recommendations, and should the inquiry's recommendations point to compensation, then of course we will pay compensation.
Rhiannon joins me now. Rhiannon, thanks for speaking to us. Tell me what your reaction was. You've been watching the inquiry this afternoon.
Quietly pleased. I think they've addressed some of the serious questions we've had. For example, parity for the four nations. And they also seem to now be including those who were affected and missed out all along. The parents of, the children of, the orphans of. So I'm feeling quite pleased at what I've heard.
And what have the last 23 years been like? Because I know David died in your arms, didn't he?
Yes,
and it's been a difficult time.
Initially I was pleased because he died peacefully, but it's been a very long, painful process, and we're still hurting, all of us.
And what was he like?
He was gorgeous. He was a long-haired hippie, thin, slim, big smile. He never thought he'd be a dad or even get married, and he accomplished those things, and I think that's important to remember.
Okay, Rhiannon, thank you very much for your time. Well, families and victims have been given evidence at hearings that have been taking place across the country to find out how and why those infections happened, and a full report will be published next year or in 2023.
Okay, Rajiv, nice to hear those memories there, though. Thank you very much indeed for now.